Sinful Divinity, Politically Incorrect is a wholesome channel filled with kind words.
Fuck that shit! Fuck the police!
Go fuck yourself.
Sinful Divinity, Politically Incorrect.
Alright, this is Sinful Divinity, and this is my first podcast, so please be gentle. Today we're going to talk about something that is controversial, because then I wouldn't be politically incorrect if it wasn't controversial. The topic today is going to be on the Ferguson trial. Yep, the Ferguson trial with Michael Brown and the cop. Okay, so Michael Brown was a black man and the cop was a white man. The cop had shot and killed Michael Brown, and Michael Brown wasn't armed. However, I did hear that he did have a plastic gun in his waistband, and he did charge the officer, but there's no proof. There's no evidence out there, really. So, this is my problem with it. In the media, we're putting it out to be this entire, racial agenda that, the white cop was racist and he killed him. Come on, America, wake the fuck up. Seriously. It's not about fucking race anymore. You need to understand that. It's not about race. Fucking, a couple weeks ago or a month ago, there was a homeless man that was beaten to death, a white homeless man, who's beaten to death by a police officer. And he hadn't done anything. It wasn't racially profiled. It's the fact that it's a civilian and an officer. They're using excessive force. And it's not about a race. Now, if we all just stood together and said, we're not going to take this shit from the police, we're not going to take this shit from any person who's in control, and, what happened to tasers? It's almost like, they heard our justified complaint about tasers. They're like, oh, if you don't want us to use tasers, we'll just use guns. It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, people. These are human lives. They may be worthless to you, but, it's just ridiculous. So it's not a race thing, There is no white on black crime. I'm going to say that right now, and you might fucking hate me for it, but hear me out. There is no white on black crime, because there is no black on white crime. There is no Asian on black crime. There is no Asian on white crime. There is no white on Asian crime. There is no Middle Eastern on Asian crime, etc., etc. It's just crime. And in this case, it was a police officer using excessive force. And I think that's how we should treat it in the media, because when you say it's a racial thing, it has so much power, and it's not in a good way, because you're going to have people like Rush Limbaugh on one side, who's a fucking dumb racist fuck who does not represent the white people. And then you have Reverend Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson on the black side. And, it's not a black and white thing anymore. For instance, when I went to school, and I'm 28, so I'm not that old, I wasn't treated any different than any other student. Me being white female, basically what you were treated on was whether or not you came to school on time, your performance, and whether or not you wanted to be there for an education. And when you don't present yourself professionally, when you don't present yourself in a matter where, you want to get ahead, you don't do the work, then you aren't going to get ahead in life. I know that for a fact, because I am a white female, but I didn't pay attention in school sometimes, and I'm paying for it now. I didn't do my work. I didn't show up sometimes because, it wasn't the cool thing to do. It was more fun to smoke weed and ditch class. But, that's a whole nother story. The fact is I have a lot of friends of all races who are a lot more successful than me because they applied themselves and they presented themselves professionally. In interviews, in college, applications. I went to college, but it was a community college, and it was a community college that everybody went to, and I just went and took random courses just to fill my time. And if I would have applied myself, then I would have gotten ahead in life. But if white privilege was real, then I would be successful right now, because I've tried. And you need to have qualifications, you need to have schooling behind your belt in areas that, I want to be a graphic designer. I know how to do it. I know everything about it, but I don't have degrees. I don't have the schooling behind me. And I don't have the money. If there was white privilege, I would have money to go to school. I can't even get a fucking student loan. The point I'm trying to make is it's not about race anymore. We need to stop putting that in the media. All it does is it divides us as a nation. And don't think that this podcast is a hate on cops either. I'm not being a cop hater. There are good cops out there. I've actually had run-ins with some good cops, but I've also had run-ins with some bad cops too. And most of the time, the good cops, they don't get to have their voice heard because you don't cross what is called the blue line. The blue line is, if a police officer does something illegal or something violent, you don't report it. You say that it's justified to protect the police and protect people from rioting. But when things like this happen, it's, as a civilian, you tend to put yourself in that situation. Like, if you were the cop, what would you do? And with the training that they have, there's so many different ways that this could have been handled. But I'm not racist. I'm not a cop hater. But I'd like to hear what you guys have to say about this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you liked my podcast, leave a comment. If you didn't like my podcast, also leave a comment. Maybe there's something that you can teach me. The only thing I ask of you is to please be courteous and no name calling. And, if you can be professional in the way that you present your case and how you think I may be wrong, and maybe you can teach me something. Sinful Divinity, out.